And we are back again. What's up? What's up? What's up? Peace and blessings, all you STEM enthusiasts, professionals, students, and everyone who just loves STEM in general. This is the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent in Black culture, where we highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. On tonight's episode, we have an awesome guest. We have Sharana Darcel, forensic scientist and beauty enthusiast, who's going to be talking to us a bit about using science as a tool for self-care. Tune in for more of this dynamic episode after this, family. I tell people all the time, that's like one of my favorite parts of the show. Shout out to Amir Cat. Amir Cat Beats was supplying us with the heat, with the Zaza, you know what I'm saying? Awesome intro as always. Again, family, welcome back to the STEM Files. We are the voice of STEM talent in Black culture. I am your humble co-host, Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabrillion Engineer. I am a civilian mechanical engineer focusing on naval ship fluid systems with a background in material science and engineering. I am typically joined by my more illustrious co-host, Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac, a biomedical research scientist with a background in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. Family, as we always say, what I always say, I say that the show is not about the host, it's about who we bring on, the wonderful talent, the people that we want to introduce you all to, have you connect to. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some, but present to all our wonderful guests, Sharana Darcel. How you doing, Queen?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me up here. It's an honor.
Absolutely. I said the honor and the pleasure is all ours. Like you said, this is a show, but it's also a live networking session. We're getting to know each other, and hopefully our guests our audience to get to know you as the guest. So without further ado, we wanted to get right into it. Why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself? Who are you? What makes you tick? And we'll go into some more intense questioning, if you will.
Sure thing. So, as you said, my name is Sharana Darcel. I am a forensic science and beauty enthusiast. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Connecticut, born and raised. I'm actually here visiting family right now, but I live in Philadelphia now. I've been there about 6 years.
Come on, 215. Come on, 215, baby.
Really. That's right. So I have 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree. I went to the University of New Haven for undergrad, left there in 2012, graduated. I had double majored when I was there. So I have a bachelor's of science in chemistry and a bachelor's of science in forensic science. Left there in 2012, worked as a quality control chemist for a few years, just because I needed a job. It wasn't forensics, but it was a chemistry job, so I was cool with that. And then 2015, I was like, you know what? I really want to get into forensics. Let's switch this up. I want a master's degree. And one thing I will say is I think for me personally, taking the 3-year gap between undergrad and grad school is what helped me actually finish grad school, because it was a lot. I was stressed out, I was burnt out, and I needed a break. So I took the break. So 2015, I was like, I want a master's degree. I want to get into forensics specifically. Found out about the Thomas Jefferson University Master's in Forensic Toxicology program that they had just started. And I was like, I guess I'm going to Philly. Let's do it. So moved to Philly in 2015. Graduated with my master's in 2017 and got my current job as an analyst in a forensic toxicology lab in early 2018. And I've been there ever since.
Awesome. Before we go any further, because it's a couple of terms we got to, unpack. We want to make sure that everybody's tapped in, right? So family, remember, this is Jabrillion Engineer and Tariq Cardiac. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you are liking, you're commenting, you're sharing. If you're on our Facebook, at the STEM Files, make sure you're doing the same thing. We want as many people in here commenting, asking questions. We're going to get to the nitty gritty. And listen, we have an awesome guest here for you. She's about to break some things down. So make sure you're tapped in. Couple of things. So I tell people all the time, I think about myself as a smart guy. However, I know when I don't know what other people know. So we're gonna take this slow. So I hope y'all heard her right. She said those bachelor's degrees, 2 of them things. Then she said master's degree. See, some of us, we get the bachelor's and we go get the guap. We just say, you know what? I'm gonna get in the workforce. I'm gonna do this thing. She said, I got 2 of them things, master's. Bachelor's in chemistry, bachelor's in forensic science, and the master's was what again?
Forensic toxicology.
Forensic, that's where we got to the forensic toxicology. All right, so without further ado, I think, we've unpacked, forensic science and chemistry a bit, but unpack for us, give us a definition from your perspective of forensic science, and then kind of lead that into forensic toxicology specifically.
Okay, sure. So forensic science in general is just the application of different scientific techniques when it comes to different crimes that have happened. So the word forensic actually just means as pertaining to crime. So forensic science is just science that has to do with helping solve these crimes. If you're looking at, forensic anthropology, that's anthropology has to do with a crime. Or forensic, document identification, you're looking at these documents or accounting as it pertains to a crime. So me being in forensic toxicology specifically is just the study of different poisons and how they affect the body. So forensic toxicology is looking at those different poisons and drugs and how they affect the body when it comes to a crime that may have occurred. So that could include things like DUIs, because alcohol is considered a poison. It's not great for our bodies. This could be workplace drug testing. So you gotta pee in a cup before you go to work, before you get that job. We're the ones that do the testing to make sure that your system is clean before you start that job. This could be mortem testing. If someone tragically passed away because of a crime, we could be testing their samples to see what was in their system at the time of death. This homicide, was this something else going on? We're the ones helping to test their samples to figure out what happened to them.
So it really was, because I had an idea. I said, okay, toxic base word. I'm thinking about toxins, poisons, or what have you. That's really dope, and for me, we've had a few, forensic scientists on before, but you're the first forensic toxicologist. I feel like you're familiar with one individual who I'm talking about, Kelly, the scientist. I thought there might be some mentor-mentee type of vibe going on there, because she was dang near jumping through the comment section when she found out you were going to be on. So,
yes,
Dr. Kelly, if you are on, thank you so much for helping, make this connection and being a part of this connection is awesome. So, I guess what really drew you to this aspect, right? We talked about chemistry, forensic science, and you mentioned how you really wanted to get into, you got into this toxicology aspect. What about this really drives you to not only get but stay in it? What are some of the, cool projects or maybe cases you've worked on generally, of course, when you talk about crimes and whatnot, when you can't necessarily get too in depth, but kind of walk us through that a bit and kind of paint that picture for us.
So in general, the reason I even got interested in forensics in the first place is because of watching TV shows like CSI and Forensic Files when I was a kid.
Right.
I thought it was just so interesting. I've always loved math. I've always been good at math and science. Computers are my thing. I love reading mysteries and trying to solve the mystery as you're reading along, and watching TV shows like Forensic Files and CSI. They were putting together all my strengths as a job and using that to help people. So I was like, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. This is made for me. So ever since I was younger, I knew I wanted to go into forensics, but because there are so many specific disciplines underneath forensics, whether that's DNA, biology, ballistics, toxicology, there's so many different areas within forensics, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go.
Right.
In undergrad, started out as just a forensic science major. Halfway through, they said, hey, right now, because I started undergrad in 2008, and at that time, there was a big forensic science boom. A lot of students were going to school for forensics. So they were like, you need to do something to separate yourself. Why don't you double major? And when I was at UNH, 4 extra chemistry classes, you would come out with a second degree. They were the hardest chemistry classes offered, but if you could make it through, everything else overlapped so much, you had 2 degrees. So I was
emphasis on if. If you can make it through.
If you can do this, then you're good. Yeah. So
Right.
we pushed through, we fought, we cried, we made it through, got the 2 degrees. And one of the classes that I had to take was an analytical chemistry class. It was quantitative analysis. And that
Mm-hmm.
basically was the basis for me to realize, oh, I really like this class. I like that obviously in the class we weren't actually testing blood and serum samples, but it was the idea behind it, the concept behind it of if you have this person's sample, we don't know exactly what's in there. How do we test for it? If we find a little bit in there, how do we quantitate and get the exact amount that was in there? So once I did that class and I said, okay, got an A in this class. How did that happen? Number one, like I'm smart, but this was hard, but I did it.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to do this in a forensics area, what discipline would that be? And my professor said, that's toxicology. I was like, all right, guess I'm doing forensic toxicology. So when I was ready to go for my master's program, initially I was looking at either analytical chemistry master's programs or forensic toxicology ones. And the one at Jefferson popped out as specifically being forensic toxicology, which is why I went there. But the reason that I really stay in it is kind of going back to the reason I got into it in the first place. It's using the skills that I have and my strengths in a way that work together and are able to help other people. I mean, if you're dealing with a crime, that's like the worst day of someone's life that you're holding,
Right.
or a family member or a victim, their friend. And they just want to know what happened. They just want the answers. They just need to know the truth about what happened without any bias. And one reason that I really stick with it and why I'm so passionate about it is because, one, there's not a lot of Black people in forensics. There's a lot of women, which is great, but there's not a lot of Black people. And when it comes to the justice system, sometimes it's hard to see, oh, well, how do you know scientists aren't biased? Well, how do you know that they're actually telling the truth? And I feel like for me, I'm like, look, I'm a Black woman in this field. I can help to be that face to show we are not biased. We are not trying to spin anything. We don't work for one side or the other. We are here to find the truth. And I know that that's what you're looking for. So let us help you in figuring out exactly what happened. Let's find the truth together. We need to do our jobs as accurately and ethically as possible to help these families get the answers to what happened to their loved ones.
You're echoing some of the things that Dr. Kelly was talking about as well, when the importance of ethics in the sciences.
Yes.
I want to take a step back and really unpack one of the things you said, because you were talking about aggregating strengths, leading to a job or a money-making engine, helping people. I need everybody watching to really understand and internalize that. Happiness in life is tied to purpose. So when you are able to identify first with your physical eyes, your mind's eye, and your heart, what you're good at, and then what fulfills you internally, and then have that actually be able to be tied to impact on people's lives, you have found something called purpose. You have found your reason, or one of your many reasons for being here. And a lot of times that is what separates the people you admire from people that you feel like are lackluster. Because even someone who is a high level producer in something will come off as being low frequency because they're not necessarily in love with what they do.
Right.
And I needed to say that because we all run into this. Whether you want to say imposter syndrome, I'm doing something, I'm good at it, but it's not what I want to do. Or I'm, not good at this, and it's also not what I want to do. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. Another question. I've asked this question on the show before as it pertains to the sciences and professionalism. Depending on who you ask, people are their job description or their degree or their accomplishment first and their ethnicity second. So, for example, I tell people all the time, I'm Black first. Right. I'm an engineer second. Now, if you understand our history, right, STEM and Blackness is dang near synonymous. When you talk about what we gave to civilization and what we started with. But when it comes to how I approach a situation, I don't value my job description, job title, how much money I make, over my Blackness.
Right.
Because the first thing you see and the thing that intrinsically starts to lead and make me who I am is tied there. My Islam is wrapped up in there. You know what I'm saying? That's how I categorize things. So where does that stand for you as a professional, as a successful Black woman? You know, where does your Blackness and your duty to your people and society lie in comparison to who you are day to day at work?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I'm Black first. You know, whether I'm wearing my white lab coat or not, I'm always going to have this skin tone. I'm always going to look like this. I'm always going to sound like this. And I think in forensics specifically, because we do work so closely with the criminal justice system, and we know that they're not always here for us, they're not always checking for us and trying to make sure that the truth is told when it comes to either Black victims or, I mean, Black perpetrators too. You know, we're not all perfect. We all make mistakes. But at the end of the day, I'm still Black first. I'm still a Black woman first. And I think that's why it's so important for there to be more of us within these fields, more of us behind the scenes. We don't necessarily need to be out in front of the cameras, in front of everything, kind of showing off. If that's what they want to do, then absolutely. That's not my thing. I'm an introvert. I would much rather be behind the scenes. You know what I mean? But I think that the more of us that are here and kind of showing them this is what we do, we take this seriously, we're smart, we know what we're talking about, we can have fun at the same time, you know, outside of work. I'm still a Black woman, you know, I still have fun, I still want to enjoy myself. But it's like you said, it's first, it's number one.
Absolutely. I that's a beautiful segue going into the title for tonight. You talked about a little bit about balance. You know, I'm a scientist. I'm still a Black woman. I still like to have fun or what have you. When you were presented with the title, you know, when science is a tool for self-care, how did you internalize and digest that? What does that mean to you? And can you start to now expand upon what you do when it pertains to science and self-care as an individual, as an influencer?
Sure. So when I first saw it, I was just like, I mean, they got it right. They figured out how to make this very succinct. Can't tell, I tend to talk a lot and I don't know how to summarize things at times. So I was like, that's the perfect summary of it right there. Yeah, I mean, going through undergrad, double majoring, being away from family for the first time was kind of a lot. Doing something you've never done before. You've never been to college before. This is new to you. You know, same thing with grad school. I've never been a master's student before. This is new to me. And even though I was going through these really hard times, I had to make sure that I was taking care of myself along the way and finding things that worked for me and helped me to kind of remember who I am throughout this process, because you can get lost in it. I mean, undergrad is hard. A master's is hard. I bet you a PhD is even harder. I'm not interested in that right now, but if you are, it's probably even harder. You know what I mean? So I think that either using science as a tool for self-care or using your self-care as a tool for your science.
Say that again. Pause on that. You got flag on the play. So you got to say things like that slow. You got to say things like that slow because they didn't catch that. They didn't catch that. So run that back. Mm-hmm. Proceed.
So, whether you're using science as a tool for your self-care or self-care as a tool for your science, they're both important and they're both crucial to you being successful in this field.
I need that on a t-shirt. That was, and I'm funny, but that was so heavy. That was so heavy because like depending on the person, they may only think in one of those veins.
Yeah.
Like science requires that I take care of myself because it's so hard.
Yeah.
Right. Or science is such an interest of mine that I utilize scientific methodology, ways of thought, playing with science kits, doing scientific things as a part of my self-care.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I would say my follow-up question is, in the realm of self-care and science, what is it that you do? You know, I know being, you know, the beauty enthusiast that you are, tell us a bit about that aspect of yourself and how it relates to not only your field of science, but just science in general.
Yeah. Well, I've always loved, my number one thing, if you go on my Instagram, the title, like header name is The Manicured Scientist, because I've always loved doing my nails. I've done my nails since I was little. That's always been my thing. It will always be my thing. on top of that, makeup, skincare, hair care, things like that, a lot of that, you have it a little bit as you're getting older and going through high school and college, but it really kicked in for me in grad school because I was working part-time at Sephora. So that is a beauty and makeup store.
Right.
You know, I going through grad school, I knew I need a job because I got to pay rent, but I didn't want something in the science field because my brain was so heavy into science already.
Right.
I'm going to need a break when I go to work. I've done retail before. I've worked in the mall before. I can handle that. That's going to be my break. So I got a job at Sephora, and that was kind of my creative outlet was, yes, I'm on the register, but I got to play in makeup. I got to
Right.
learn a lot of makeup I had never used before. I got to here. And then once they asked, hey, learn more about any of these sections, these departments, I said I wanted to learn about skincare because of the science behind it, because I cannot get enough of that science. It's always going to be there, you know? And when it comes to skincare, a lot of times, and I'm not a cosmetic scientist or a dermatologist, but it's just the science in general behind it is what interests me so much. When it comes to a lot of skincare concerns, it has to do with science. You know, if you're dealing with, say, dark spots on your skin, there's ingredients that are out there that you can apply to your skin that help to fade those dark spots and help to clear up your skin. You just got to find the product with the right ingredient. So I'm like, this is just another puzzle. This is just more problem solving. I do this all the time. Like, let's go, let's do this. So that really tied me in. And now I'm like this big skincare person. I got all these products and, you know, all this stuff that I'm always trying out and looking at the ingredients in them and trying to figure out, okay, but how does this work? Okay, but this brand is saying, hey, this product is great. You know, this is going to help you. This is going to work for you. But I want to know why. You know, what is in this product that's going to work for me? A lot of the beauty industry right now is really getting big on like clean beauty and natural and things like that. And as a chemist, like that doesn't really matter to me. I understand that it matters to some people, but it doesn't matter to me because I don't really care what's not in the product. I want to know what is in here that's going to work for me and my
talk. And it's the same thing, a couple of things, because you're blowing my mind right now on a few levels. It's like, I think about it similarly, like the finesse in marketing. Like, for example, when things are on sale, okay, this is 50% off. You saved $100. No, you spent $200.
Yes.
Right? So even if it was 300, right? You spent $200. That's what they did. That is large cap. It's great cap, but it's very large. It's very large cap.
Yes.
That's perfect. So when you talk about, okay, when people talk about plant-based, all these new burgers and all this stuff, that doesn't mean healthy.
No.
Right?
No.
So when you talk about, okay, this is clean beauty, you know, this is not in here. This is not in here. See, that's a way to show you, to kind of divert your eyes maybe from what's in it. So my thing is, okay, this may be natural, but does this help me? Yes. It's natural, but is this doing what you say it's going to do? And is it, even if it's natural, is it the best product for me?
Yes.
Right. And then the next thing I will say is, you would have loved one of the episodes we had, but since you're in Philly, I'm definitely going to put you on because my aunt, her name is Leslie Mint. She's an RN. She's also the proud owner of the Luscious Lab. It's a Black-owned and operated skin and personal care line. She has an awesome line. It can tell you what she has not only put in it, but why she has put what in it. Yeah. I'm telling you, anything from serums to like witch shea to body wash to assortment of hair products, bar soaps. I'm telling you, I'm gonna link y'all up because I'm gonna tell you, when you start using them, you're gonna fall in love and it's gonna be on your Instagram. So I'm gonna make it. Aunt Les, if you watching, because I know you got the link. If you watching, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to send Sharana your way. We're gonna make that connection. And then she has her products in the Reading terminal. She does different pop-up shops around the city and Jersey and everything. Great quality products. So I'm definitely going to have to link you all together. But
yeah, for sure.
Everything you said, right? All skincare is I don't want to say weaponized, but the mastering of chemical reactions, understanding the chemical reaction, and then utilizing it in a way to render a certain response.
Yep.
So, for example, right? You talk about toxicology, right? Let's talk about poisons. Every medication you take is a poison.
Yes.
Now, that medication, now we can talk about the pharmaceutical industry, all that, but we're just going to say base principles, right?
Right here.
The medication is supposed to be taken a certain time of day with or without food, right? In certain increments to render a certain result. Ergo, you OD or you don't get the result that you want, and now you think that it doesn't work. No, you didn't follow the instructions.
Yes.
Right? Just like there's venom, there's anti-venom.
Yes.
Anti-venom has the base of the venom of that animal, what have you, that then counteracts what's present to then heal you.
Yeah.
So when we talk about something that's toxic or poisonous, time and place is a big key, because something that could kill me in one sense could heal me in another sense. So that's awesome. I'm going to say something else. Somebody said I have to clear up moles on my face. Oh man, we can get into that. We can get into that. But real quick, I wanted to ask you if you ever heard. I'm sure you have, being that you're into nails and toxicology. I remember I saw a story, and you can maybe expand on if you've heard of it, maybe how it works. But in response to, I guess, if you want to call it date rape culture or being roofied, I heard about a nail polish that was developed that if you stick your finger in the drink, it changes the color if it's been spiked.
Yes, I heard that.
Have you looked into that at all?
I haven't looked into it, but honestly, and sadly, it shouldn't be necessary.
Right.
But it is, and I'm glad that someone came up with it, because I mean, just like you said, anything can be a poison. That's literally the number one rule of toxicology. Like, the first thing you learn day one of being a toxicology student is the dose makes the poison. So it's the amount that you're taking that's what causes it to be poisonous. That's what causes it to be toxic. When it comes to certain drugs and poisons, they're called poisons and they're called toxic because it doesn't take that much. It only takes a little bit for it to be dangerous to us. Absolutely. Other things, it might take a lot, so we don't think of it as being toxic, but in certain situations, it could be. I mean, this water I'm drinking right now, I can drink this bottle of water and I'm totally fine. If I sat here and tried to drink 3 gallons of water at one time, that could be toxic to me. That could kill me. So I have a huge problem with brands and marketing and whoever that tries to say like, oh, but this is non-toxic. It's like, but it could be. It's all right on the dose. That's just a marketing term. Kind of sidetracked, but I just have a hard time.
You on it though. You absolutely on it. You're directly on it.
And going back to nails, it comes in a lot with nail polish. I mean, I'm a nail polish fanatic. I love doing my nails. I want to say, I don't know for sure, but I feel like the nail polish industry is the biggest industry when it comes to the beauty community that talks about things being non-toxic. It's like, oh, our nail polish is non-toxic. Our nail polish is free of these 3 big ingredients that are bad, these 5 ingredients that are bad. And now it's 10, and now it's 12, and now it's 30, and it's like, when it stop, again, as I said before, it doesn't matter to me what's not in your products, what's in there, and is it going to be effective? If you took out an ingredient that would make the nail polish last longer, and then you sell it to me and I put it on and it ships tomorrow, well, I don't want that nail polish. In what situation is that nail polish going to be toxic? If I drank it, that's a problem. If I inhale the fumes too much, that might be a problem. If I ate it, if I'm biting my nails a lot, that might be a problem. But if I'm just sitting outside, well-ventilated area, painting my nails, I let it dry, and that's it, I might be fine. I'm probably fine. Now, some people might have allergies and sensitivities, and that's totally a whole separate situation. But I just feel like the non-toxic trend that's going around right now, and everyone's trying to be non-toxic and clean, it's just marketing. It's, at the end of the day, that's all. There's no science behind it at all. It's just marketing, because anything could be toxic depending on the dosage. Now, having a nail polish that can test, you stick your finger in a drink to see if it's got any GHB in it, that's the name for it. No, I think that's an excellent idea. I'm so glad somebody came up with that. It's sad that we need that, and I don't know if a lot of people actually know that exists. I mean, in the times that we're in right now, no one's really going out. We're just starting to kind of go out a little bit more. But it's just really unfortunate that we've gotten to the point that we have to teach people not to become victims instead of teaching people not to victimize people.
Woo! You done. Well, how much time is left? You done started. Wait, hold on. See, because now we saying something. You speak. You talk. You done started something. So listen. I have a few things. A few things. Right. We're talking about toxicology. I want you to walk us through something, but I do want to ask you this. Now, it's not the same thing, but it kind of touches, right? So, and it's been something that I really have not engaged with on social media because that's just not me. I pick and choose what I engage with on social media, and I feel like at a certain point, we're being watched to see what we gravitate toward and whether we're going to talk about it or not. Like a lot of that is like tracking you to see your habits.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, if not everyone, is familiar with what happened with our beautiful sister Sha'Carri Richardson, with being tested, failing the test for marijuana, and not being allowed to run upcoming Olympics. As a Black woman, as a toxicologist, I guess the question is loaded, multifaceted. What is your thought process on, like, first off, I guess very simply, what is the process by which, if you test for something in the system,
Mm-hmm.
and then in terms of social justice, what is your thought process on testing for, marijuana or that concept in general on her not being able to run? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Just curious about that, both scientifically and from a social aspect.
Sure. Well, scientifically, I can definitely speak to how we would test for that.
Mm-hmm.
Part of forensic toxicology also includes testing for possible doping within sports. So
Mm-hmm.
the way they would do that is they would collect a sample from the person, whether that's a urine sample, they might do a blood sample and then spin that down. So we've got their serum, you know, and then we take that. And usually what we end up doing, the way that my lab does it, is we do two different types of tests. So we're testing the same sample twice in two different ways to make sure that we have an accurate result that goes out. So the first way is what we call a screening test. So it's kind of just looking for the entire class of drugs. It's a very quick test that they do, and it's looking for all of those drugs within that class have a similar chemical structure. So we're kind of just looking for anything with that structure, right? It might not specifically tell us what type of drug that is, which specific one, but it'll tell us something within that class is within the sample. So we get a positive result. We say, okay, there's some type of, for example, we'll say opiates. There's some type of opiate in this system. Okay, now we have to figure out which specific one. So then we would run a confirmation test. We take that sample, say we got this much of it. We're going to take a little piece out to do the screening test. We're going to take another little piece out to do the confirmation test. We get the confirmation testing. And what that does is we're actually using more sensitive and more accurate instrumentation to be able to test that sample, kind of separate out the drug that we're looking for from the proteins and the other kind of gunk that's in the sample. We're able to separate it out and then test to see specifically which type of opiate was in there and then how much of it was there. So in Sha'Carri's case, what they did was they collected her sample. I don't know if it was a urine sample or a blood sample. And they did exactly that. They ran a test to figure out, is there some type of cannabinoid? Okay. And then let's break it down and get more specific. Is there THC? Is it just the CBD? Because, CBD is fine, but THC isn't. So we need to be able to tell the difference and see what exactly is in there. The one thing I will say is that when it comes to testing, especially when it comes to weed cases, testing a urine sample, we can't confirm the specific amount that was in the person's body at the time. Urine only shows that they've been exposed to that drug in the past. We don't know how much. We just know they've been exposed to it at some point in the past. To get more specific with how much is in their system at that moment, that's when you really need a blood test, because that's pulling it specifically straight from your system. So at that time, we know what's there. The urine just says you had it in your system at some point and you've now eliminated it. So we know that, well, if you eliminated it, you had to have it in you at some point, but we can't tell you how much was there. Sha'Carri's case, I'm assuming, sorry.
No. Can you break that down a little bit more? Because I know I'm trying to internalize why one is more accurate, or understand why one is more accurate than the other. So can you kind of explain that a bit more? Like, I'm assuming you have the blood and that your blood is constantly circulating through your system.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, it's there, but then like you have, you're expelling this in your urine, but I feel like, I mean, so I get, so I feel like as you're expelling it, I mean, it's in you as well. So I guess like trying to understand the difference is why one is more accurate than the other.
Sure. So think about it. If you brought up kind of like a pharmaceutical example. So if you had to take a Tylenol, you got a headache, you take a Tylenol, right?
Right.
Take the Tylenol, your body starts to absorb it, it breaks down, and it goes into your bloodstream. And then it moves, that Tylenol is going to move throughout your bloodstream and go all over. Over time, your body starts to metabolize that Tylenol. It's going to break it down into its components. That way you can pass it out later.
Okay.
So if you take a sample while it's still in your bloodstream, it's still being distributed. There's 4 steps when it comes to taking medication and then eliminating it. You've got absorption, distribution, metabolism, and then elimination. So if we take the sample while it's still in your bloodstream, that's that distribution stage. So we know that it's still in your system. Once it's starting to be metabolized and be broken down, we might see, if Tylenol breaks down into these smaller little compounds, we might find the smaller compounds. So we know you had Tylenol at some point, but it started to break down already. So we know that you're kind of coming down. It's almost like a bell curve if they were to actually plot it out. So we know you absorbed it, your body's distributing it, but then after time, over a little bit of time, your body's metabolizing and breaking it down. And then eventually your body's going to eliminate it. And that's when it shows in the urine. So doing a urine test just shows that you're eliminating it. So you did have it in your system at some point, but we don't know specifically when. We can't backtrack and back calculate to figure out how much was in your system. We just know at some point you had Tylenol in your system, just to stick with the example. Whereas if we take a blood sample, we know, oh, your body's still distributing that Tylenol. It's still going through your system actively at this moment. So we can look at the numbers of how much was there and figure out, is your body actually treating this the way that it should be?
So I'm going to ask a potentially stupid question, and I'm not afraid to ask it. Is it at all possible that you could find evidence in the blood and not in the urine, or vice versa?
Depending on what evidence you're looking at. So if you've got kind of if you've got Tylenol and it breaks down to the 2 smaller compounds, just so it's easier for you to eliminate. If your body's already started metabolizing it and breaking it down, we might not see the full Tylenol, that like parent compound, the actual Tylenol you took, but we might find the 2 breakdown components. We might find the 2, pieces of it. So we know that at some point you did have the whole thing, but right now all we see are the pieces of it. So in that case, we might not see it, but we can kind of use our interpretation to figure out exactly what happened before. Same thing with the urine. We might not see the main parent Tylenol, but we might see the pieces that it broke down to. And that could prove, oh, they did have Tylenol at some point in their system.
Got you. That's dope. I love how you broke that down. Family, look, if y'all not tapped in, I don't know. I mean, if y'all Netflix binging, then okay. But listen, Tariq Cardiac, brilliant engineer. Follow us on the gram and on Twitter at the STEM Files, right? The STEM Files on Facebook and YouTube. We do this every week, every Thursday. Try to bring you all, like you said, the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Our sister is breaking it down, right? We're getting a very scientific look into some of what may have happened or occurred in terms of testing our sister Shakari Richardson, right? Outside of the social justice or social aspect, but getting very scientific. So make sure y'all tap in with us every week. Follow us on our social media. Go to our YouTube. Check out some of the previous episodes as we do our best to cover a wide spread of STEM disciplines. So at this time, so much I want to ask, but we're going to go to what we call our social media tap-in. We basically will find something on our guest social media, kind of highlight that, and you can kind of expand on what's going on. You ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's see. So talk to us a bit about this picture. You can give us the when, the where, if you remember, generally speaking, what you were doing, what you could have been doing. What are we looking at
Oh, my social media. Okay, all right.
here?
Well, this is a picture of me in my lab. Got the mask on, got to keep it safe.
Right.
And what was I doing? I think this must have been on a Sunday. I work 4 10-hour shifts in my lab, so I work
Gotcha.
Sundays through Wednesdays.
Gotcha.
So this was probably a little bit of downtime that I had, waiting
Gotcha.
for something to finish. And I was like, my earrings are cute. I don't have many pictures in my lab coat. Let me just snap something really quick. Well, I got this decent lighting, you know.
Got you. Got you. So it was you having doing that little bit of self care, a little bit like let me tap in with the people real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the lab doing my thing
Mhm.
and I'm moving forward. Okay, okay, appreciate it. You gotta show that balance. That's one of the things my wife was talking to me about. She was like, "Baby, like you gotta put more pictures of yourself on your social media." I like tend to promote a lot of things,
Mhm.
and it's so funny because you talked to Tariq. My social media, my Instagram in particular, has come such a long way from what it was, and I really wasn't using it. From
Mhm.
everything from the profile to everything, but like you can't just have promote. People want to know who you are, so I feel like I'm very photogenic, if you will, but I just don't take enough pictures or like give enough of myself so that
Mhm.
people know, okay, this is what makes him tick. I feel like I know him. So I definitely like that about your page and other influencers that I follow, particularly in STEM, because it shows the balance and we're still human beings, even though we do some superhuman things.
Yeah.
And I wanted to highlight something else. As you were talking and you're giving us your background in toxicology and everything, one of the things that I really wanted people to understand is a scientist isn't just one who knows a lot in his or her field. The proof of your scientific know how or technological know how, mathematical know how, engineering know how is in application.
Mhm.
So if we are listening to Sharana discuss it, she talked about applications. She didn't just say, "Well, this is the definition of this. This is the definition of that." She walked us to and gave us a lot of real world understanding of what toxicity is and how it can be applied. When people say even too much of a good thing can hurt you, right? So
Yeah.
water toxicity is a very real thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why if you drink water too fast or drink a lot, you can feel a little sick,
Yeah.
right? We do everything, we do things in moderation. You know what I'm saying? You can eat the best of foods. You know what I'm saying? You drink, you know what I'm saying? You gulp a gallon of Fiji water, you might not be feeling good, even though it's Fiji. You
Yeah.
know. So I definitely am glad that you mentioned that and kind of really were really methodical with how you took us. So we are more than halfway through the show, about 15 minutes left. I mean, I've been thoroughly fed. I pray you all who are watching have been thoroughly fed and definitely ask us some questions because, and if your questions are answered, that means she's doing a great job. And like I say, a lot of my questions, I feel like you're getting to before I even ask them. I do want to take a moment to shout out our sponsors. The Nation of Islam Ministry of Science and Technology, where we're pulling all throughout our nation young people, more seasoned individuals to really be able to show what we can do as a people in STEM fields to advance us as a society. We have Original Man Scientific LLC, which is the parent company of the STEM Files. It's a science and technology company geared towards delivering the advantages of research and development to your community. Tariq is our founder as well as chief operating officer, and I operate as a co-owner as well as our director of engineering. I have a series of projects we're working on, things coming to you fast. And our Navy Bean Experimental Research Station, which is a subsidiary of OMS, Original Man Scientific, which is specifically going into that super bean, that super legume, the Navy bean, and if you ever got any questions about the Navy bean, why it's so important to us, members of the Nation of Islam, and to you in general, Tariq is your guy. He is my resident expert of all things Navy bean. So whenever I have a question, I call him. So with that, as we move forward, you know, one of the things that any professional high achiever I feel like goes through are either personal, professional, mental, emotional plateaus.
Mhm.
And we do things so well or a certain way for so long, and we reach a point where we feel like we are stuck. As a professional in STEM, as a content creator, as one who is striving to better herself, have you ever or recently hit any plateaus? And what does that look like? And also, what do the next 3 to 5 plus years for you look like professionally and personally? If you can unpack that for us.
Yeah. So the first part, if I've ever hit one of those plateaus, I would say absolutely. I think we all have at some point, whether we realize it in the moment or we realize it after the fact. For me, that was what I was working as a quality control chemist.
Mm,
I liked what I did, but I had to commute. On a good day, it was like 45, 50 minutes from my house. On a bad day, it was like an hour and a half. Uh, for a while, I had to be at work at 6 a.m., leave at 2:30, but then we always stayed late, so I didn't leave until 3:30, and then you hit that rush hour traffic, and next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock and I'm just getting home. Um,
right,
Time I wasn't doing anything for myself. I wasn't doing that self-care. I wasn't painting my nails or hanging out with friends, going out on the weekends. I was just go to work, come home, go to work, come home. And I
right,
hate I was angry. It was not good. And one of my coworkers at the time actually suggested, because I didn't know what work, I just knew that I didn't like that feeling. And I
right,
explained, like, I don't know what this is. I'm like, miserable. I'm stuck in a rut and I'm like 22. This doesn't make any sense. She's like, maybe you should be, I'm like, I'm too young to be feeling like this. And she's like, you
right.
should do something else for yourself. When's this time? You went and took a walk out in nature. Have you ever tried yoga? Have you ever, things like that to kind of remind
Facts.
me to take care of myself. So I found a yoga studio not far from my job, signed up. It helped me in two ways. It helped me because I was moving exercise, but it was something that I enjoyed doing. But it also helped me leave work on time because if I didn't leave work on time, I wouldn't have made it to the class. So I was like, I'm going to purposely sign up for this class a little earlier so I have to leave work on time. There's always going to be something else to do, no matter where you work. There's always going to be something else that needs to be done. But you have to be the person. And hopefully, if you start to slip, you have coworkers that are friends of yours that can help to remind you it's okay, set it down. You've done your 8 hours, or in my case, my 10 hours. You're allowed to go home. You don't have to keep picking up more things. It'll be fine. Pass it off to the next shift, or it can wait till tomorrow. And that's what she really did for me was like, you're here all the time. We are all here all the time. What are you doing for yourself outside of work? So that was my
Mm,
burnout, huge kind of revelation of like, oh, I need to be doing more things for myself. I need to be setting aside this time and making it a priority and not just on the back burner of like, yeah, I'll work out when I get a chance. Yeah, I'll take a walk when it's like, no, 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 this is a priority because this is the only way I'm going to be able to function when I actually get to work. Am I drinking enough water? Have I had anything green lately or am I eating a bunch of chips? Like, what are the things that I can do
woo!
that
Yeah,
make me feel
why are
good?
you talking about me though? See, we're
Look,
getting personal.
I'm talking about
See,
myself. I'm talking
getting
about myself.
personal. Ooh,
Yeah,
the chips, Lord.
you need the reminder, after a while, it's like,
Right,
oh, why do I feel like this? What's going on? Oh, when's the last time you had something green? I don't know.
right,
Great, let's change it. Let's grab a salad.
right,
It's okay. You'll be fine. Let's take a
right.
walk. Let's park a little further out so you have to walk to the door. Just little things
Facts,
like that.
facts.
It doesn't have to be this big, huge, I'm going to go and run 3 miles before my job. No chance. I'm not doing that. I would rather.
Is there absolutely not?
That's not
Baby
me.
steps.
I'll park over there and walk a little bit. That's fine. My job is at a little fitness center, so I'll 15 minutes on the elliptical walking while I listen to a video or watch, I can do that, but it's just those little things that you make a priority throughout your job, throughout your studies if you're in school, and they add up. Um, and I just think it's so important, when it comes to me creating content and doing this whole social media thing, like you were talking about, that's one thing that I realize I'm also really passionate about, not just science, not just forensic science, but trying to make sure that other scientists, and whether it's women in science, Black people in science, just people in science in general, are remembering to take that time for themselves. Because you can get wrapped up so quickly and so easily. Next thing you know, you're looking up and it's like you've just been in a daze. Like, where am I? What's going on? And it's like, if I can be that person to try to help remind you, hey, have you had any water today? Hey, when's the last time you did something fun? When's the last time you did something you genuinely love to do? What did you love to do as a kid? Have you done that lately? You know, grab a coloring book and go sit on the floor. Like, who cares? Do something, watch a cartoon and eat some cereal. Like, whatever it is that's going to make you feel good, no judgment, do it because it's going to make you feel better. You'll feel refreshed. You'll feel, you know, rejuvenated. And then when you go back to work, you'll have a clear enough head that you can actually get back to focusing on what you're doing, and you'll be more efficient when you get to your job instead of getting to your job and your head is all this. There's no words, it's just this. You know, you can't focus, it's so much brain fog, and then it's like, I need more coffee, I need more this. Like, you probably need a break. You probably don't need all of that, you might just need a break. So if I can be the person to help remind other people to go take breaks and do those things that they love, then I think I did my job.
You know, as you were talking, I thought about something I had sent out today. So since I was about 13, I've like danced either like consistently, competitively, or like, you know, in a class. And I haven't for a long time. I danced through high school, you know, competitively. I danced in the crew in college, and you know, I always told myself I want to take class or whatever. So I told my some of my homies I used to dance with. I said, "Yo, I'm a choreograph to the new song. I think it's called "I Like That" by T-Pain and Kehlani. I listened to that joint. I said that joint kind of hard. I said I'm gonna challenge myself to put something together for this, and I want y'all. I want y'all to hold me to it. So I sent it to them. I said, listen to this. Like, I think it'll be a challenge for myself. I've been dancing a while stylistically, so they've been giving me some pointers. Oh, you should attack it like this. Do it like this. Or I'm seeing like real groovy moves or whatever. So like those things that you like to do. My father always told me, Jabril, because he knows how much I like to dance and love. He said, don't stop doing the things that you love to do. No matter how busy you claim to be, you can't even do those things that you desire to do within your purpose or for others, or that you should be doing, if you're not 100% or at least close to it.
Yes.
You know, we talk about hurt people. Sometimes it's not on purpose.
Yeah.
And hurt doesn't mean that you're like, you know, psychologically damaged. Hurt can just mean you're just tired.
Yeah.
You're not 100%.
You're not all there.
You know, you're a little banged up. So you can't give 100% to somebody else. And really giving anything less than your best is doing a disservice to that person or that entity.
Yeah.
So you really have to do your best to do that. So with that, we've arrived at the last 8 to 10 minutes of the show. We do something very cool now where we kind of flip the table. So for these last few minutes, we allow our guests to play interviewer, and we will play interviewee. Open the floor. If there are any questions that you have about myself, our platform, personal, professional lives, you are free to go ahead and take the mic. So without further ado, I'm ready when you are.
All right. First off, I want to know how you got started, how both you guys got started, either together or with the STEM files. I mean, this is incredible that you're putting together this show, you're interviewing different people in STEM and kind of passing the mic and helping this network to grow. Not only why did you want to start it, but how did you get started? Starting a business is hard. This is a business. So how did y'all do it?
Whoo, that's a great question. It's a beautiful question because I love talking about this because it teach me to remember that we're not done. And that really, if we're honest with ourselves, we've still have yet to really just rev that engine and go as fast as we could. But Tariq and I have a mutual mentor. His name is Brother David Hassan. Real good brother. You know, saw Tariq grow up from teenage years, watched me grow up from earlier years, about, you know, like younger adult, you know, into like college and what have you. He found out and saw that we both had interest in the sciences, linked us up. You know, so Tariq gave me a call. This was about 5 or so years ago. he was like, yeah, man, I got your info from Brother David. I know you're in science, young FOY or Fruit of Islam like me. Started talking. He was like, yeah, man. So at this point, he was about to get married, and he didn't. Now we didn't know each other at all, but his desire, and he's gonna. You might be upset with me for saying this, but it's important to me because I just think it was such a beautiful thing. He wanted all of his groomsmen to be in the sciences.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
reaching out to me was like, man, I would love for you to be in my wedding. I'm like, and I wanted to do it. Now, me not even knowing this guy, but feeling his spirit, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to do it. I wasn't able to do it. But he also had a follow-up idea. He said, listen, man, I have an idea for a research and development company. I want to call it Original Man Scientific, to really be that bastion of creativity technically in our respective communities. The same way you can walk down any street in the hood and see McDonald's, we want to be able to see research and development centers. And we started working on that idea. And out of that came first on Blog Talk Radio, then on like a Google video. I forget I think it might have been called. And now to this platform, the STEM files. And it's going through different iterations. We continue to polish it. And what we desire to do is network with people for ourselves to kind of grow either our ranks, grow our network, to be able to bounce ideas off and also help each other. But also we want to let the world know, our constituents and people everywhere, that this is what Black people do. As a lot of people say, this is what a scientist looks like.
Yes.
And you as a person in general, but particularly, and I'm unapologetically about it, you as a Black young person, male or female, your only route is not entertainer, sports player, rapper, what have you. STEM is a very cool, lucrative job and or business pathway that you can then learn how to literally control an aspect of society and push society forward and manipulate it in the best of ways.
Right.
So it's like I said, a live networking session. It's a live inspiration session to let people know, hey, this is somebody worthwhile. Connect with this person. Ask this person questions. Give this person an opportunity. Let them give you an opportunity. So it stemmed from that. One thing with me and Tariq, we are both products of non-traditional schooling. We were both homeschooled.
Okay.
So I was homeschooled as well as my younger brother I was homeschooled from 2nd to 9th grade. Okay. Tariq from about 4th to 10th grade. So non-conventional methods, very eclectic curriculum, and a very just comprehensive self-love was bred in us early to then even have the thought process that this was necessary. So that's kind of where this comes from. That's the reason why we did it. Original Man Scientific / the STEM files kind of started about 5 or so years ago, and this is where we are now.
Look at that. All right. One quick one for you. If you had to describe yourself in just 3 words, whether yourself now or what the person you want to be in the future, what 3 words would you use?
Oh my God, you good at this.
Round show. Hang on.
Oh, 3 words. I'm not perfect.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna tell you why. I would either say I'm not perfect or I'm a student, one or the other.
I like that.
I think I could say so many things. I could have used 3 adjectives.
Yeah.
Or what have you, but
that's where my mind was going. But then I'm like, oh, he switched this and flipped it all. I wasn't even thinking that way, but I like that. Yeah.
But it's like, for me, throughout my life, I've struggled with putting things off, at times not feeling I could do things, or letting certain situations either that I'm bored about or were bored about around me kind of just weigh me down. But I realized that, listen, what either has happened or has not happened has made me who I am today. and I have been valuable to people. So in my imperfection, in my lack of completeness, I've been able to provide real value to those around me. And God still wakes me up every day.
Right.
So inshallah, it meaning Allah willing, you know, I'm learning something, or I still have something to do. So that's a divine reminder to myself that, you know, I have yet to arrive.
Yeah.
So I keep pushing, and I'm trying to squeeze more out of me because I know I have much more to give.
Yeah. Like he's not done
And
with
much
you.
more to learn. And he's not done with me yet.
Right.
I
Right.
know he's not. I'm not done with me yet either. So I'm not perfect.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That.
So yeah, no, that was great. So it's 9 o'clock, man. We could go on forever, but I would be remiss if I did not go into one more thing.
Sure.
Right? So as members of the Nation of Islam, me and Tariq will be very remiss if we did not promote the number one, I say newspaper, but number one, you know, black owned and operated, but news source in the world. This is the Final Call newspaper. This is the flagship newspaper for the Nation of Islam, black owned and operated. This week's title is The Criterion 1 Year Later. Now, I'm going to preface something before people get all in their feelings on anybody about, oh, you're an anti-vaxxer or whatever. If you watched it, July 4th, 2020, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave insights and some guidance as it pertains to these COVID-19 vaccines and encourage us not to take them. Now, I always encourage everyone to do your own research, and I would encourage you to read this and have a very well-rounded understanding as to why. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I know even myself, I do my best not to say anything without evidence or without reasoning. But this paper is a must get. Go to www.finalcalldigital.com to establish your digital subscription. Also, this is local, national, international news. So you have health and wellness, you have business related articles, geopolitics, right? All written by people who look like you and I. And I say look like you and I mean black people. So very comprehensive paper, very insightful. I'm telling you, like, it's been times I read the articles, I feel so well fed, and it's awesome. And if you're in the Philadelphia area, if you're in the Richmond area where Tariq is, want to get it physical, just let us know. So that's finalcalldigital.com, family. So with that, listen, I've been well fed. This has been an awesome show. Last two questions for you, Sharana. Where can people get in contact with you? We've had your beautiful spirit. You've taught us so much. I need a mentor. I got a question. I want to put you on my platform. How can we get in contact with you?
The easiest way to get up with me is probably just through my Instagram. I spend the most time over there. I probably spend too much time over there. But you can message me over on my Instagram. It's just my name, Sharana Darcel. And if you have a lot to say, if you want something official, legit, you want to send me, you can shoot me an email at hey@sharanadarcel.com.
Y'all, I said that email is so welcoming. I just wanted to email it just because. I was like, hey, sure. I said, I'm just send an email. I'm gonna send just a thank you email. And also, I will be remiss if you could leave the audience with a couple things to just go on. What would you say as we close?
One thing, I think just going back to what we talked about before, prioritize your self-care. Make it a priority in your life, no matter what that looks like. I mean, self-care isn't always bubble baths and face masks and taking days off.
Come on.
Whatever self-care is to you, do more of it. No judgments. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not real, it's not good enough. Do what matters to you. Make time for it and see how much better you feel later on after you do that.
Self-care.
Yeah.
So with that, family, time has been well spent. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. This has been the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent in Black culture. Brilliant engineer, typically joined by Tariq Cardiac. When science is a tool for self-care, with our beautiful sister, Sharana Darcel, toxicologist and beauty enthusiast. Until next time, family, stay tapped in, stay a student. Remember, just like I said, I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect, but we are good enough. And
That's right.
as long as we understand that we're sufficient, and as long as you understand that whether you believe in God or not, that there's a power that is with you if you push forward, then we'll be all right. So until next time, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent in Black culture. Peace.